So I'm kind of nervous a little bit. This is the first time I've ever done one of these vlog type videos. I've been wanting to do this for a while now. I saw some videos on YouTube that what was one called being ugly, my experience, or I'm 21 and I have no friends, or 32-year-old virgin, something like that. And I was like, wow, these are really genuine videos of people just talking and sharing pieces of their lives. And it seems like a great way for people to connect with each other. And what I noticed about these videos, most of them have very minimal editing, and it's just people talking. And it's fascinating. You get to see something real. We're kind of inundated with highly edited, how should I say it? Superficial is a good word. Superficial or shallow content on all social media platforms. People are trying to manipulate or sell a product or sell themselves. And there's something special about, sitting down with a person and that person is honest with you. That's one of the reasons why I like books a lot, because when you're reading a book, you can, if the book is to some degree honest, because you can lie in books too. A book is really a piece of the person's mind being laid out, and it stretches across all times and all people, because you can translate books and stuff. So I'm kind of rambling right now. I did have something I wanted to talk about, and I'm not going to edit this at all. I'm just going to post it as is. I'm in a suit because I'm at work. So if I get interrupted, I might have to step out for a moment. But this is the first time I'm doing this, so I may stumble. I did have a script where I was going to read off of everything I wanted to talk about. And so I did film myself reading the script, and as I was watching it, I was like, this doesn't feel like me. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel genuine. It feels like fucking fruit flies and mosquitoes up in this office. It didn't feel like me talking. So even though I may stutter or stumble on my words, or kind of go off track sometimes, like, this is me actually talking. So I want to get to the point where I'm, filming this once a week at least. I started my YouTube channel to make music and, post my poetry, but we live in a special time where, musicians back in the day, they were highly controlled by record labels or promoters or managers or whatever, and their image was highly regulated in what they could and couldn't say. And now, we can get to know one another far more deeply than we ever have been able to. And this level of connection between everyone in the world is unprecedented. So what I wanted to talk about was really, it's been about a year since I wanted to start doing this, and now I'm finally getting around to doing it. So I wanted to talk about this year and what this year has been like for me, and hopefully I get something out of it, because it's hard for me to talk about this kind of stuff, and hopefully you get something out of it, because I learned a lot from this year, and I'm hoping that by sharing my experiences and my thoughts that, people can kind of superimpose what I've learned onto their own lives and take something away, whatever that is. And that's what I try to do with everything, my music, my poetry. I'm trying to learn about myself, and in that way learn more about human nature. And by sharing that, hopefully it helps others in their own journeys to learn more about themselves and the world. So it's been about a year. It's August 10th. This all started right around this time last year, 2019. Really kicked off September 1st. But it's been a hard year. It's been a really fucking hard year for me. And I know I'm really not trying to detract from everything going on in the world right now. I know it's been a hard year for all of us. Like, everyone's going through shit. Life is pretty down in the dumps for a lot of people. We're all kind of struggling to keep things together. You know, with the virus, that's the main thing going on right now for everyone. And it's really surreal. And people passing away from the virus, you know, there's people dealing with that, and there's the protests going on in the States, and the racial divide is really being focused on, and that's causing a lot of tensions. There's political turmoil and economic turmoil because of everything going on. People are really struggling. So I'm hoping that by sharing my story, that, you know, people going through those things get something out of it. And I'm already 7 minutes into the video, and I kind of barely touched on the subjects I really wanted to talk about. So yeah, about a year ago, I went through a breakup. It seems, you know, whenever someone talks about breakups, it's like, that's not a big deal. Well, it was a big deal. It still kind of is, but, you know, I'm over the relationship and stuff. But it takes me a very long time to, I guess, because what it is, so I was with this woman for 2.5 years. We met in our early 20s. I'm 27 now. We even lived together for about 5 or 6 months. And she was the woman I loved most of my life. Probably ever. And I don't mean, you know, like the way someone loves their mother, because that's a totally different thing. That's family love. I mean, like, romantic, passionate love. I've had relationships before, but this one was like a true, committed, like, I saw myself going far into the future. And it's like you stop thinking about yourself as me and I, and start thinking of it as we and us. And what are we going to do? You know, how are we going to do this together? How are we going to spend our time together? And that's how I was seeing life, you know. 2.5 years, not that long in the scope of, you know, marriages and things, but a boyfriend and girlfriend together for 2.5 years is kind of long. So we were together during that time, and that's how I thought. And I started seeing myself as this entity that I was not an individual. I mean, I still was, but like I had my own interests and pursuits and everything, but everything I did, like, I prioritized her over everything. I would think about how my actions would affect our relationship, you know, my behavior, how that would reflect. And I made a lot of mistakes, you know, we both did. Overall, I would say it was a pretty good relationship most of the time, or at least it was, you know, it was okay most of the time. Most of the time it was very boring. It was just life. That's the way life is. Like, life has its ups, life has its downs, but most of the times life is pretty level. You know, we're just kind of living and trying to do things. But yeah, overall, we both tried pretty hard to keep things going. And, there were down times, there were up times. And I guess, it didn't work out for a variety of reasons, but I don't want to go into specifics. But I'm not even going to say we grew apart, because I don't think that's it. It was more of some degree of incompatibility. We were just fighting all the time, and things were just not good, and the bad started outweighing the good. And I think we just didn't want to be together anymore. It probably started with her. I didn't want to acknowledge it, or I think I would, because I'm very, if there's certain deal breakers for me, and even if the relationship is really shitty, which I felt it was, but those deal breakers hadn't been triggered. So I was like, even though I was miserable and unhappy, trying to keep things going, and in the end, certain deal breakers were triggered, and we had a talk, and we separated. But we were living together, so we broke up, and we were living together for about almost a month after we broke up, and fuck, it is so shitty living with someone that you broke up with. So we were living together, trying to find new tenants for our place, and that month was incredibly uncomfortable, and just, God, it sucked in every way. Like, this person that I had elevated to this level where I was even willing to sacrifice my own life for hers, and then suddenly, I'm not going to say in a day I started to hate her, but it was pretty quick that my feelings turned to this, wow, this is going to sound harsh, but my feelings turned from like this extreme love and devotion to, I wish this person would fuck off and die. Like, I hated her truly, deeply. Just, I was full of anguish and rage, and just, I didn't want to be anywhere near her or ever hear from her again. There's still a little bit of that. Honestly, though, more than anything, I don't want to see her again, because everything that happened, but I don't hate her. It's more of a, I'm grateful for a lot of things, but at the same time, I know if we met again, there's just too much history, it would be bad, and it's best if we don't cross paths again, and if we do, be polite, cordial, and then go our separate ways. That's, where everyone's adults here, like, that's the way things should be handled. Like, we have no more business together, is what I'm saying. But during that time, I was truly sad and angry at the way things had turned out. And, I was also mourning the loss of, I guess, a dream. I had this hope that, or it was like, I had found what I was searching for, and I could stop searching because I craved romantic fulfillment, and I had found the one. And who, if she died first, if I died first, it didn't matter, because we had found each other and we were together and we could stop searching. And that wasn't the case. And I've reevaluated things after it ended. I don't, we're bombarded with romance since we're born, like books, movies, music, like everything, songs. We're just bombarded with this idea that we have to pair up with someone and struggle together to be together, even if one of us wants to, do something that makes the other upset, or, explore sexual or romantic feelings with someone else. There's so many, and that's what you learn when you're with someone for a long time. There's so many things that get in the way. Like the things we would fight about, me and my ex, things I never thought people would fight about, like little things about, fuck, after I would wash the dishes, and I'm not just going to tell you stuff that she would get mad at me about, because I want to be fair, because I got mad over things I never thought I would get mad about that seem ridiculous now. So this is just the first thing that popped in my head. So I don't want to especially paint her in a super negative light, because I don't think that's fair. And, I don't want to do that to someone that I don't see as either of us being in the wrong. We just grew apart, and there's nothing wrong with that. Relationships end. I don't want to be the hateful ex-boyfriend. I would wash dishes, and then she would get mad about how much soap was left in the sponge, right? So I would actually try. I would, squeeze out the sponge after it, but it wasn't enough for her, right? So that was one thing we fought about. And then I'm going to try to be fair and think about something I would get upset about. And this might be, inherent bias, because I can't, nothing's coming up right away. It's like my grudges are more important. I'm sure there was something. Fuck. If I come up with it, the video is getting long already. I didn't intend for it to be this long. Shit. I wonder, I'm filming in vertical right now. I wonder if this footage is gonna come out weird, because I do plan on uploading this to YouTube. So maybe I should have been doing it in horizontal. I'll figure it out. Maybe I'll throw it in Premiere Pro and do something to it. Put in a background or something. Where was I? Okay, so yeah, I guess I've been rambling about my ex-relationship, but once things ended, I moved out. When we found new tenants, she moved out. We went our separate ways, and I won't say I was lost, because I'm 27 now, and we broke up when I was 26. We had been together since I was 23. So I'm turning 30 in a few years. I'm pretty sure of who I am. I found that out before I met her, and while I was with her, my identity solidified more, even though she was included in my identity of who I am within the relationship. But as an individual, I'm pretty solidified. So I will say I was somewhat emotionally lost, in the sense that I guess I was upset. I was sad. I was mourning. And it was hard for a good... until February. So for a good 5 months, I remember I was going on a lot of dates. I had a few romantic partners, and I would still cry just randomly at home alone about my ex. I really feel like I was grieving. Like, I would picture our relationship as like a child, and it had burst into flames and died, and I was grieving for it. And I think that's normal usually. When you get attached to someone, when you get attached to an idea that something will last, and then you realize it's gone and it won't ever come back. It's sad. And then in February, my father died. And all of that went away. Not all of it, but I've never experienced the loss of a loved one before. Not, I guess one of the main characters in my life. My mother, father, brother. This is not easy for me to talk about, so I'm probably going to keep it short. I'm not going to go into the details of how it happened or, everything. I wrote an obituary and I gave a eulogy at the funeral. Maybe later I'll upload those because I think they kind of go over things better than I could right now. It's kind of cliche sounding, but fuck. Everything changes. Nothing stays the same, and I'm familiar with death as a concept. I've known people who died, and young people too. I've been around death. My father was a soldier. I'm familiar with these concepts, but my father was there, since I was born, and it was he died in a motorcycle accident. It was very sudden. And I had actually seen him the day before it happened, and we watched Scary Movie 4 together. We had a good day together, and then he was gone. And the things I thought were important they're not. We really take things for granted a lot of times. Any one of us can have an aneurysm or an accident or just be killed, and I'm not saying live like there's no tomorrow. That's not what I'm saying, because if you live like that, it's not sustainable. Like, you're going to make every day worse for yourself. I started drinking really heavily after everything, and it doesn't really help. Like, I guess it numbs things a little bit. That's why drugs can be really fun, really nice. When you're in mental anguish, they can fuzz things up. If you smoke weed when you're depressed and shit, It's like the smoke fills up the inside of your mind, and you can't see anything for a while. You just feel cozy in a fog. And drinking is kind of similar. It makes everything kind of muddy and blurred. But the effects on my body, lack of sleep, liver, everything was hurting, and I was drunk all the time, and drinking is gross too. I mean, it can be fun if you're with friends and stuff, but when you're drinking so heavily, like 30 drinks every time you go out, that's how I was. I'm a small guy, but I was drinking a lot, and it didn't help me deal with the pain. And I've been thinking a lot about BoJack Horseman. That's a show about a cartoon horse, and funnily enough, it's one of the most accurate portrayals of human nature that I've ever seen. And it's about a cartoon horse. If you're not familiar with the show, it's about a BoJack the horse. He was a famous sitcom star in the 90s, and now he's like this wash-up has-been who's dealing with addiction and an abusive, toxic personality, and he kind of spirals down, and he drags people down with him, and that's pretty much what it's about, and kind of the consequences of his actions. He's not a good person. He's a good protagonist, not a good person. But he kind of goes through this cycle of, coming to terms with who he is, and in the end, trying to be better. I'm not going to say he is better, but he gets to the point where, he tries. So the second to last episode, the penultimate episode, is called The View from Halfway Down. And I'll be quick. If you want to read about it, if you want to watch it, you can do that. I'm not here to summarize it. I just want to tell you why I've been thinking about it. He has a near-death experience where he's fucked up on drugs and alcohol, and he almost drowns in a pool. And he has this kind of dream-like sequences or hallucinations, I guess, that he's eating dinner with like the main characters of his life, and they're all saying their piece, and then he's transported to this auditorium, this theater, where these characters are sitting, and then they, one by one, they come and they give this last soliloquy, or they say this last little speech, and then they walk through this black door of nothingness, and they, one by one, they go through it, or this weird black liquid tendrils, this arm thing grabs them and pulls them in, and they disappear. So I've been thinking about that a lot, and how poignant or accurate that depiction of life and death is. I think about stages a lot. I love plays and Shakespeare and movies, and even as a kid, I remember playing this Pinocchio video game, and there was this level where these characters danced on it, and I would have dreams about that stage. Or when I was a teenager, I smoked salvia, and I saw the multiverse as a living creature, and it took me through each of its universes on its body, and then it took me through an ocean, and this endless ocean was pouring over the edge of a giant stage. And through the the curtains of that stage, I could see reality. So there's that famous quote from As You Like It by William Shakespeare. I don't have it memorized, but it pretty much goes, it's very famous. You've probably even heard it. You know, all the world's a stage, and everyone in its life, or everyone in the world and in life, are just players, you know, just actors. That's not really true, right? We're not actors. There are actors, but, you know, we're people. But we do play our roles. You know, I'm talking about my father, so I'll talk about the role of a father. There's good fathers and there's bad fathers. You don't have to be a father, even if you fuck someone and you bust in them and they get pregnant and they pop out a kid. You don't have to be a father. You know, there's societal structures in place that encourage it. You know, people will shun you if you're a deadbeat father, and there's laws about child support and things like that. But you can do that. You can impregnate someone, and then you can run away. You can straight up just disappear. Or there's negligent fathers. You know, they may go through the motions, and then they just are shit fathers. They'll just hang around and not really take care of the kid. Then there's abusive fathers. There's, you know, they'll molest their children, they'll beat them, and then there's, you know, uncaring fathers who'll just, you know, they'll be there and they may do everything right, but they don't care really, or they don't put in all the effort. So if we're talking about actors and players, you know, there's great actors, and then there's okay, and then there's bad. And if we're talking about the role of fathers, my father was a great father. He prioritized his family, his children, over everything else. We're not actors in this life, but at the same time we are. We are all human. We do things that have consequences. But on our way to that door of darkness that we know not what lies beyond, we were presented with the consequences of our actions and the obstacles that accompany those consequences. And the way we handle those things is what defines us within our roles of being human. And then we can say that being human itself is not an acting role, but living within the confines of humanity, you are presented with roles that are thrust at you, and whether you choose to accept them and play them well is up to you. So that's what my main point in talking about all of these things that happened this year. It's been a really hard year for me and for probably anyone watching this. It's up to us how we take what life presents us with. We can't. This is a quote from when I went to rehab when I was 19. There was a poster with a picture of a boat, and it said, "You can't control the wind, but you can control the direction of your sails." And that's kind of like, you know, you can't control the things that happen, but you can control how you react to them. And, you know, I don't want to be light about, because the world can do some pretty bad things to you. But it is up to us how we take these things and how we choose to live. So I'm not saying anything in particular about the choices you should make. Just these are things to think about. And I've made some changes in my life that that I see as positive. And a lot of the bullshit that I thought was important came sharply into focus, and I realized that they're not important. Like the partying, trying to get girls all the time, or, worrying about certain monetary aspects, or I'm not saying money is not important, because money is very important, but certain things, I realized a lot of those things are superficial or surface level. And what I feel is important now is, one, togetherness. We can't do this alone. None of us can handle life by ourselves. We all need each other. And two, prioritizing yourself, because you are you, and you're the most important person in your life. And then the people who love you. And the people who love you, everyone has their flaws. And I'm not saying it should be your family, because some people have very shitty families. I'm saying the people who are truly there for you, those are the people that you should prioritize over, whatever non-important bullshit. And we have a lot of non-important bullshit lately. Always. But lately with, being bombarded with highly photoshopped pictures on Instagram. And I'm not against Photoshop. I'm not against looking pretty. But just take into account that a lot of this is not real and not important. The things we do have consequences, and life has its rewards as well. And we should search for the real and the divine in its truth and in its splendor. So first vlog video, I rambled a lot longer than I thought I would. It's now 37 minutes in, and like I said, I filmed in vertical, so who knows how this will come out, but I'm going to start trying to upload these once a week, and I hope you've gained something from this. I feel like I probably have. Next week I'll talk about what it was like getting my penis tattooed. I'll talk about that. And I hope you listen to my music or read my poetry or whatever else I post. Please subscribe and like and all that stuff. That helps me connect with more people. And also, it helps you connect with me and me connect with you more, because we get to, you get to follow my content and comment, and I get to see that you're regularly following me and interact with you. I'll try to interact with everyone, but, there's so much going on in life and stuff. But anyway, until next time, and I hope things go well for you today and tomorrow and forever.